So, Chris, you said you've been watching Master of None on Netflix?
I have. Yeah, I watched it a couple times, actually. And I'm curious if there are actually going to be any more episodes, if there's going to be like a second season, because it seemed like it was a self-contained story that didn't really need a second season, and I don't know that we really...
Right.
Anything that you put on there with multiple episodes is going to say season 1, and I was just curious if it was implied that there's going to be a season 2, or if he was just done. It was just a story that was too long to tell as a movie, and short enough that he got it out in everything that he wanted to tell in 10 episodes.
It makes a great serial. There are definitely elements there that they could return to, like...
I don't know if he wants to make any more. I'd watch more.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see more of his dad.
Yeah.
His dad sort of stole the show.
What's up, man?
Oh, man. This guy's got a thing in his butt. I gotta go.
Cheese? I don't like cheese.
I don't like Chinese food. No, wait.
That's
That's
his
the mother.
mom. Yeah,
His
his
mother.
mom doesn't like Chinese food, but they keep going there. Because he does.
Yeah. Well, this is How I Met Your Mother Superfans. Hi there, Chris Venezia.
Hello, James Hamilton.
Hey there, Mother Theorists. And just in case you wanted to know, this is the show where we talk about the CBS comedy How I Met Your Mother. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the themes and symbolism and some other stuff.
Oh, okay. We're also going to ruin the show.
And yeah, we're going to ruin it by spoiling plot points for the entire series.
And there's almost nothing left that we could spoil if we're going to be doing the How Your Mother Met Me. There's only, and I went back and I thought about it, and I think there's actually three secrets left after you have watched this episode.
If you made it this far.
Yeah, there's only a few things that we could possibly spoil for you, and one would be the mother's name.
Right.
It's actually not on my original list of things that could still be spoiled at this point, but as we were talking about the episode, I noticed, and when I watched it again, I noticed that her name is absent from this episode, even if it makes it awkward.
Yeah, I'm going to refer to her by her name.
Yeah, go for it.
Throughout this episode.
Yep, you made it this far, fans.
Of course, we're watching How Your Mother Met Me, a.k.a. Kristen Miliotti's Big Giant Eyes, the movie, the show.
Okay.
This is a Season 9 episode. It's about halfway through Season 9, Episode 16. So join us and watch that episode with us.
She does have those iconic eyes, which is one of the things when I was talking to you about it when we were watching the episode, is that one of the ways that Kristen looks similar to Allison Hannigan to me. In my opinion, they have a lot of similar qualities, and the eyes are one of them.
Yeah.
That's something that Radner Ted has mentioned in the show before, Lily's giant eyes.
Yes.
And it's funny that his future wife also has big giant eyes. So this episode originally aired on January 27th, 2014, written by Bays and Thomas because it's a huge plot point
Who else could write it?
Yeah, it has to be done by them, and directed by Van Fryman.
The Fryman. So just to catch you up in case you're jumping ahead through the series like we are, this is the 200th episode.
I did not know that, by the way.
Yeah. And this is where we follow the adventures of Tracy McConnell, the mother, and the 8 years of her life between a tragic event on her 21st birthday and the evening before she met Ted Evelyn Mosby.
It's funny that it's the 200th episode because her ankle allegedly appeared in the 100th episode.
Yeah, I like to tie that together.
Yeah. And that scene actually is even in this episode.
If you remember watching Season 9, the episode right before this was Unpause. That's the one where Marshall bangs his wife to sleep to avoid fighting with her and doesn't succeed. They fight anyway and split up.
He steps on that toy that has the recording of Ted saying, "I love you, Mommy," that he recorded for her as an adult man.
Yes.
But yeah, she was asleep until Marshall steps on that toy. But yeah, that one was funny. It's got the bugs and the bugs with boobs.
Bugs with boobs.
Just the weirdest thing that's ever been in the show. But it was fun. I liked it. They did. Some giant boobs.
That was when he was trying to throttle himself.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. That's a good use of the word.
Also, that was the episode where Barney gets truth serum drunk. Episode right after this is Sunrise, where we continue the search for Barney.
Yeah, because at the end of this episode, he runs away to go take care of a few last-minute things before he gets married.
Yeah.
I also liked your note on the next episode, the one where Robin's a balloon.
That's right.
If we were to do that episode, I think that should be its alt title.
Robin the Balloon.
What's that one? Sunrise, also known as Robin the Balloon.
Right.
It's good stuff.
But today we're talking about the Mother episode. So this is an encapsulated episode. The rest of the cast don't really appear. They have a couple of cameos here and there. As far as what stood out to me in this episode, it's such an emotional episode. And for me, if I had to pick something out that would be iconic about this episode, it would be that ukulele that she gets from her Ted boyfriend at the beginning of the episode. Yeah. And you don't see the ukulele again until the end of the episode. So I thought that was kind of neat, this sort of bookend the episode. Like, here's the skiff she gets from her boyfriend, and, for all we know, she can't bear to play it. But at some point, obviously, she learns how to, and then finally, at the end of the episode, we get to see, we get to hear this wonderful, beautiful song that she plays just on the other side of the partition from Ted.
Yeah, and it's nice. They got somebody who can actually play the ukulele and sing. She's done some stuff on Broadway. If you look her up, fans, if you haven't already, she's done quite a lot of stuff. Yeah, and this, the mother of all episodes, there's some theories that we're going to talk about that I wish they had more time to flesh out, and this one with the ukulele, I'm also curious if she has never played it, since she got the gift from Max on the night that he died on her birthday, and you never find out if that's true or not, but that would be a really great story point if she's never once played it. Yes. Since she got it, because she couldn't bear to do it for some reason. And in the day that she lets Max go.
Right, exactly.
If he were a balloon.
Yes.
then she finally lets herself play it.
Exactly. As soon as she tells Luis, no, I'm not going to marry you because I haven't given up on finding love yet, she finds the strength to play that beautiful song on her uke.
Yeah, and we have no idea if that's true or not, and that's sad to me. Like, I really want to know if that's what the creators of the show were going for in this moment or not. Most memorable to me was when she's having the conversation with Max.
Oh yeah,
and the wind blows to let her know that it's okay to move on, because otherwise she may not have. I mean, you never really know what she was going to do until she does it. But she's been doing this to herself. She's almost like punishing herself for 8 years, because Max died and he's gone, and she doesn't believe that she can find somebody else, that there's a second love out there, and so she just shuts out the world. Yeah, in a lot of ways, and she does that to herself. Nobody's doing that to her.
Exactly.
So that conversation that she has with Max, and then there's some sort of communication back to her, lets her know, yes, move on.
Yes,
it's okay.
Yeah. That was a very touching scene. Like, there was definitely quite a few moments of tear-jerking, emotional moments. That was definitely one of them for me.
Yep, little single tear rolling down the face.
So we begin this episode in September 2015, which is the same day as the pilot, where Tracy's having her 21st birthday at the McLarens. But it's the wrong McLarens.
Yes, it's one on the east side, I guess.
Yeah. So we follow one of her friends, who we find out later is named Kelly, because she goes to the McLarens that we know and love and runs past Ted and Barney, and recreating their scene from the pilot.
Right. Have you met Ted? And he points her towards Carl's girlfriend.
Right, yes. Lebanese girl.
Lebanese girls, yeah. They're the new half-Asians.
And this whole episode feels like a pilot for a new series. Like, fitting that they start with the pilot of the other series.
Yeah, it's Tracy's pilot.
Yeah, we get to meet all these new characters, and it sets up all the situations.
Some of them we don't. There's people at the table that they don't have a spoken line, and they don't get names. Yeah, no idea who they are.
Yeah, as soon as she shows up at the other McLarens, which is packed, by the way, it's doing much better than the McLarens at 79th in Amsterdam?
75th.
75th in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we're treated to a nice new opening title sequence.
Yeah, they don't do a whole lot of those in the series, so those are always fun.
Yeah.
In fact, the only other one that I can remember, they're on the wiki if you want to look it up, but the only other one I can remember is when Barney takes over the group and gets new Lily and new Marshall.
Is that the same as the Russian one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and does a new...
Da, 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 da.
And makes a whole new one because he's replaced them. But they don't do a whole lot of the open titles differently, so it's fun when they do.
Yeah, that one, I remember the Russian one as well.
So you had a note on here about the age difference between Ted and Tracy. Yeah, she's 21. I mean, they say that in this episode. It's her 21st birthday, and we know that Ted's 27 when the show starts. That's not so bad to me.
Yeah, it's not that bad, really.
Maybe if they met that night, it'd be a little odd, but still, I mean, we're both adults, but they might get some comments about robbing the cradle or something. But, 6 years isn't that bad, especially by the time they actually meet.
Exactly.
It's NBD.
And so we learn about Max dies through some sort of tragedy, and immediately we jump forward to, we assume after the funeral, she comes back to her apartment.
Yeah, wearing black.
I thought that was daring, like to take the viewer on such an emotional roller coaster. Like we're having this happy fun time, and then immediately, just like Tracy is experiencing, we go from a happy moment to a depressing moment.
Yeah, when we were talking about this earlier, you said that this wouldn't really work as a pilot. Like, it has a very pilot quality to it, but it wouldn't work as a pilot because it's a little too dark.
It's too dark, yeah.
For a pilot, and the audience is sort of left wondering, like, is this the kind of show that I really want to invest time into? Now, being that this is season 9 when this appears, we get to learn about Tracy, you're already invested, so they can do whatever they want, and you're going to watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this would be a little brave for a show like a pilot, an actual pilot. You have to decide if is the whole show going to be like this? And actually, it turns out in a lot of ways it would be, because Tracy's story is a little bit sad. Like I was saying earlier, she borderline punishes herself for 8 years for something that wasn't her fault.
Right. If this was a real pilot for a show, this would be way too dark. But since it's the 9th season of How I Met Your Mother, the producers of the show have earned the right. They've earned that trust with the audience that we're going to take you on this ride, and it's going to be emotional, but you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, just come with us on this journey. So we move forward to March 2008. This is the night that Ted and Barney are at the bar on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, the bar called Low Point.
Low Point, yeah. It's very fitting.
Right.
For both of them, I think. For everyone involved in that entire day.
Yeah. I think, didn't Barney wake up in a trash can?
Yep, he wakes up in a dumpster and spits a lime out of his mouth, I'm pretty sure, or some sort of piece of fruit.
Yeah.
Kelly, Tracy's roommate, ends up sleeping with Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch the Naked Man shows up.
Yeah, he does. They meet him at the bar, which is the first time I remember finding out Kelly's name.
Right.
Because Tracy introduces Kelly, but Mitch does not say Tracy's name. Like, she's like, "Hey, Mitch." And he's like, "Hey, you."
Yeah.
It's not actually what he says, but it was so close to that. I was like, wow, let's just gloss over that part. Gotta save her name. It's the big reveal in the series finale.
Mitch the Naked Man, in contrary to his previous appearance, he's not a really creepy dude in this appearance. Like, he's a more rounded character. He's we find out later, when he pulls the Naked Man on Tracy, that he admits to himself that, yeah, I have gotten a lot more creepy since I moved here.
Yeah, it is kind of a creepy move, and it's only charming in that it works.
Yeah.
When it doesn't, the 1 out of 3 times that it doesn't work, it's actually really creepy.
And obviously she doesn't go for it. But there's this nice scene where he offers her some really good advice about, the path that her life could take.
Yeah, he says he wants to save her a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because he spent a few years not really pursuing anything.
Yeah.
Just sitting in his basement, playing video games and masturbating.
Right. He's metaphorically in the same place where Tracy was. Like, she wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah. Showed her exciting robots doing bowling period, and was going to move into robots doing track and field. But yeah, for the most part, she's just spinning her wheels.
Exactly.
But yeah, you had a note that I definitely want you to mention. This is one of those theories that they didn't get enough time to. If Bays and Thomas were going this direction, they didn't get enough time to develop it.
Yeah, in this conversation with Mitch, Tracy tells him that she wants to end poverty. And I did a little bit of thinking here. This is where the we ruin the show part comes in. Because I might be overthinking this, but I was thinking, well, how did Max die? Like, I assumed it was a car accident because that would be something that would happen so suddenly. But what if he was murdered? Now, hear me out.
Yeah, stay with us, folks.
Now, that's a pretty dark storyline. But let's say maybe he was killed accidentally during a mugging or something, and that's a tragedy. Tracy wants answers, and she investigates the crime. She maybe meets the killer and during the trial or something, and interviews him or just learns more about him, and eventually, since she's Saint Tracy,
yes.
she forgives him, and she decides that the reason that, this perpetrator of this crime killed her lover, either accidentally or intentionally, was because the perpetrator was a victim of poverty. And
right.
That motivates her to want to end poverty so that no one else would experience the consequences of crime influenced by poverty.
Yeah, poverty being the villain in the story, not the killer that she's able to forgive. I like that. I also assumed that it was a car accident.
Yeah.
When she gets that call, and my mind did not go that direction, which I'm glad yours did, because I think it's a really cool idea, and it would make sense for why she just immediately comes up with that answer of she wants to end poverty, as opposed to we have no idea why she would say that.
Yeah, we know so little about her.
So she's like, I want to end poverty, which is lofty, but yeah, this would give a reason behind it. And I also like your idea of that it was like, possibly a mugging gone terribly wrong, because my first thought was like, okay, so how could have Max died from poverty? And then my mind comes up with nothing, and then it just goes back to car accident.
Right, yeah.
It defaults back that way. So I'm like, I have no idea. But no, that's it. Yeah, poverty is the true villain in this story.
So she decides to end poverty. That's going to be her goal. So we jump ahead a couple of years to the fall of 2009, which happens to be season 5 of the show, around the episode Definitions, which is the premiere of season 5. And we accomplish this with a transition scene where Tracy sort of takes over for future Ted narrating. It turns out she's not narrating. She's talking to Cindy, the roommate.
Yeah, she does this multiple times in the episode where the transitions between scenes are done in the narration style, and then we just find out that she's talking to usually a new person that we've either met before that we've met before. Like in this case, it's Cindy. She does the same thing with Darren. She does the same thing with Luis. She does the same thing 3 times in the episode, at least 3 times that I know of, where she does sort of that future Ted narration style, but she's talking to a person. Well, I guess Ted's talking to kids.
Right, yeah.
So it's not talking to thin air.
So this is one of the many times that she almost bumps into Ted. She's looking right at him. He's the professor of Econ 305.
Yes, for that day anyway.
And he tells his selfish joke that we first saw in season 5 episode Double Date.
Yeah, he goes on that double date. That's the one where he goes on a date with somebody and finds out that they'd actually gone on a date previously.
Yeah, the exact same date. And he even tells he's been trying that joke for years.
Never gets old to him, anyway.
It's like Tracy and the talking breakfast foods. She's going to keep trying that.
Yeah, until she finds somebody that it works with.
And I like this, just real quickly before that scene ends, is Ted's running out of the auditorium and to his proper classroom with his giant Impy poster, and he runs right by Tracy, And just before Tracy turns around, he's like, "Oh, I was in the right classroom. He was in the wrong one." She gives him this charming little look, and it's like, "Oh, that's nice."
Yeah, she I don't know, feels some sort of compulsion towards him. Maybe I don't know. It's just something that the show is doing, but it was the shellfish joke or something else. Like, even when she first sees him, there's this look on her face, kind of like, I don't really know, other than it just looks like, whoa, I feel drawn to this person.
Yeah. Be the universe.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, first time she sees him is right after Cindy says, "You know what's after the one? The next one."
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, I don't think so." And then sees Ted. She's like, "He's hot."
Yeah.
So, we move forward again.
Yeah, we jump forward in time to January 2010, which is also in Season 5. The 100th episode, Girls vs. Suits.
Yeah. Stacy Keibler was in that episode.
Here we have a couple of scenes with Tracy and Cindy in Cindy's bedroom. It's right after that scene in Girls vs. Suits where Ted is talking to Cindy and he picks out all these things in her room that are actually belong to Tracy. And they break up because Cindy's convinced that Ted's got a thing for Tracy, even though he's never met her.
Yeah. That one was tied together really well, because, I mean, as far as I know, that was the original scene. And then they got the actress back to do a new scene, and apparently had the same clothes lying around.
Yeah, that scene was really done well. Like, they matched the apartment almost perfectly. The scene at the club, the Low Point Club, they didn't accomplish that nearly as seamlessly.
Yeah, they didn't try as hard with that one. That was clearly not done in the same set.
Yeah. It
was done in, like, the hallway of the Low Point. When they cut to Ted bumping into Woman, as she's known on IMDb, it's like, that's the old shot, and it looks nothing like where they're actually standing when Kelly and Tracy and Mitch are talking in that scene. So, but in this one, yeah, it was really done. You would have no way of knowing that those two weren't shot right next to each other.
And this was the one scene where I had a little bit of a criticism. Because this show is only 22 minutes and they're going to show 8 years of her life, and they have to show that Tracy's the perfect match for Ted, they just, in this one scene in Cindy's bedroom, she just starts listing off things that we know Ted likes, like his calligraphy. And
it was a coin collection, which I don't know. I don't remember Ted ever liking that, but it would be the kind of thing that he would appreciate.
Yeah, he did like the lucky penny.
Oh, pennies are interesting.
Yeah,
first of all, that is interesting.
Yes.
Yes, the penny. Yeah, that Robin didn't get. Yeah, and then she says she has a chainmail corset?
Yeah, from the Renaissance fair.
Which, then she says, no, that is cool. Which I think it would be. I think a lot of people would be into that, even if they weren't into medieval stuff. It's a corset. Yeah. Crying out loud. It's chainmail. It's
very, very flattering.
Yeah.
On most women.
You can see through chainmail.
Yeah.
Also, it's so anyway.
It might be cold.
Yeah, keep the heat up. So she's in Cindy's bedroom, which I also noticed when we were watching it that she just walks into Cindy's room.
Right. Yeah.
Which does not fly with me. And maybe some people are cool with that, but no. If my door is shut, I have a very strict knock policy. And unless I say come in, don't. Yeah. I can talk to you through the door.
Yes.
I might not be wearing clothes. You don't just walk into somebody's room. It's their sanctuary. But it's forgiven, and Cindy's upset about breaking up with Ted, and they share a kiss.
Yeah. And that's a great little moment there where Cindy, she recoils from the kiss a little bit, and she's like, I might have some stuff to figure out. And Tracy says, "You might." That was just a cute moment. Like, great line reads on both of them.
Yeah, it was fun. It was probably the first time that Cindy really explored that, and it's fun that it was with Tracy. And Tracy says that she hasn't been kissed in a while, and makes you realize that she really hasn't been trying at all.
No.
To meet a new person. She's actually actively avoiding it.
It isn't till now we're coming up to that. The next scene we meet Tracy's new band member, Darren.
Yes, because Kelly moves out. No.
Kelly's already gone.
Cindy moves out.
Yep.
Probably to move in with her new girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. So she has a room. Tracy has a spare room, which Darren responds to that ad. He doesn't need a room. He just really, as far as we know, really loves her band.
Yeah. Another character we really don't know much about, except he's just the foil for this episode and earlier in this season.
Yeah. So he convinces her, well, it makes it seem like it's her own idea.
Yeah.
But convinces her to let him sing one song.
Yeah.
Maybe just one song!
Oh!
And he's got the
Eyes.
fire in his eyes, yeah.
Yeah. So we meet Darren, and then he joins the band, and then we jump ahead a couple of years later when he's in the band, and he's starting to take over and be a jerk. So we're up to April of 2012, Season 7. This is about the episode Now We're Even. I wasn't quite sure what exactly episode we were referencing here, because the first thing we see after that Darren being a jerk after the club is Tracy pulling an amp, trying to get it into a vehicle, and behind the vehicle are some Save the Arcadian posters.
Yeah, when we watched it again, it looked like they were either like glued, like really thin posters that were glued to the wall, or they were possibly like spray painted on.
Yeah, I like your idea. I think maybe they were spray painted on, which would explain why they were still up there in April 2012 when the Arcadian was destroyed in May of 2011.
Right. So they're still up, even though the Arcadian's gone. You can't save it anymore.
This is where we get to meet the boyfriend, Tracy's only or second boyfriend of her lifetime.
Yes.
And it's Luis Ferrigno Jr. And he lifts that bass amp I was talking about earlier, which Tracy was struggling with. He just picks it up with one hand and puts it in the van. And I was like, here I'm going to ruin the show again. I'm overthinking it. Is that like a meta moment because Luis Ferrigno Jr. is the son of the Hulk?
Yeah, it could be that they did that for him. Look how strong he is because his dad's the Hulk. I didn't even make the connection though that his name is Louis and his real name is probably Louis.
Yeah.
Like Lou Ferrigno Jr., but that might be short for Louis, and so it's just going by his own name in the show. He's Louis in the show. I didn't make that connection. But yeah, Louis ends up being the only other person that Tracy dates before she ends up with Ted. It's Max, Louis, and Ted. And it's a long, I thought it was 2 years, but the math on that couldn't possibly be right because the wedding happens in 2013, Robin and Barney's wedding. So if this was April 2012, they would have only been together for 1 year. But it's a long relationship. It's just not a very, I don't know what to call it. It's just kind of, it's lacking.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. We assume he's a good provider. They are spending a lot of time together. You see him in her apartment. You see them at the McLarens that we know and love. Spending time together. There's a beach house involved, so they've taken some trips together. So they've developed this relationship, which is fitting. Tracy's not the one in the series who's going to date around a lot, but she's got to be involved in something to create some conflict in the series.
Yeah. Actually, I got the impression that they live together. Tracy and Luis live together. But now that I said that and we've been talking about it more, I'm not sure that that's actually ever said. Maybe it was implied to me in a certain way, but with 22 minutes and all the things that we wanted to see, that was not something that was, as far as I know, specifically said.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot cut out.
So, Luis, when they're at McLaren's, because they have their first drink together before they do or do not move in together, they have their first drink together at the McLaren's that we know, like you said, on 75th in Amsterdam. And he says that the last time that he was there, it was called Puzzles.
Yeah. Why are they called Puzzles?
And why would you call a bar that? Unless that's the puzzle.
Tracy gets immediately, of course.
Yes, she does. And that means that Luis has probably been in the apartment, because they took everyone from the bar up to the apartment when they closed. Because they said no last call.
Yeah. So
Luis has probably been in the apartment and met Barney and Ted.
That's funny. That's weird.
It is. And then he actually also sees Ted when Tracy leaves, after she says that she's not really interested in dating. She leaves, and Ted comes in wearing a dress.
Right.
And you see Lou look right at him.
Yeah.
So he knows who this guy is, or at least has seen him multiple times.
Yeah.
And then there's a picture when Tracy decides she does want to date Luis. They show like this sort of still shot photograph on screen for a second at McLaren's on a different night than this one, and Robin's in the background.
Yeah, just barely.
If you watch it long enough, and it's short. You'd have to really be looking for it. This is why I thought that they lived together. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. We get to hear the English Muffin song that Ted has referenced before in a previous episode. She's singing, it's got the one English muffin and some raspberry jam.
Wow.
And I guess, maybe I read too much into it, maybe they don't live together, but it's like a morning thing. So that's the only time it's acceptable to eat English muffins. So they're spending their mornings together, and I guess you don't have to live together for that to be true, but I guess that's why I thought that they were.
Yeah, it definitely shows that their relationship has developed, and the details of which we'll never really know, but I had a little note here that I found this interesting. If you remember the episode The Time Travelers, it was season 8, episode 20, Ted imagines himself going to Tracy's apartment 45 days before he even knew she existed, and having this beautiful speech, and that there's a piece of music that's repeated in this episode that accompanies it, that just makes it really heartwarming. And up until a moment where he gets punched in the face by Luis.
Yeah, I remember that.
This never happened.
Right, yeah, it's all theoretical. This is what he would do that night, the night that the Time Travelers episode happens, if he knew the future.
Yeah.
If he was a time traveler.
Yeah, so that's another piece of tie-in that they just didn't have time for in this episode.
So that was actually Luis?
Yeah, that was actually
Lou Ferrigno Jr. Yeah. So they had cast Tracy's boyfriend in the season before.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I do remember that scene because, I don't know, it was in that episode. The episode itself is very sad, and then the end is weird because you have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
And you don't know until you sort of get to this point in the show and you can look back on it and be like, oh, okay, now I sort of get what they were doing. And yeah, he gets punched out by Luis, which is kind of a bit of an overreaction other than he tells him that he's going to marry his girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of weird. But, well, watch the series finale and then you know why he goes there 45 days before they actually meet. But instead of that, let's move on.
Yeah, so we move on. Let's see, that was in 2012 when we move up to May of 2013. We're in the middle of season 9. The episode Bass Player Wanted and others, it's kind of hard to tell because season 9 all takes place in 2 or 3 days for the most part.
Yep.
So Lily and Tracy are talking. During that conversation, Lily reads off the ad that Darren had placed. Like he's calling Tracy not hot or something.
Yes, Bass Player Wanted. Must be hotter than current bass player who is a 6 at best, in my opinion.
Yeah, like who would write that?
Yeah.
How do you compare that?
That's super mean, but Darren is that awful of a human being. Yeah, and then Tracy smashes a glass out of an anger, just like Lily's been doing all weekend.
Yeah, and repeating her similarity to the rest of the group is, she also says, "What the damn hell?"
Yes, when she first sees the ad.
The catchphrase of season 9.
Yeah, that does get said a lot. Does Daphne say that too?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Daphne might be the originator of it.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that.
Marshall says it, and then Lily says it.
Tracy says it. I don't remember Barney or Ted saying it, but maybe they did. We'll have to go back and watch. In all honesty, as much as we've watched this show, I'm sure that season 9, even though I know I've watched it 2 times, is probably my least watched. Just because of timing. Like, I had more time to rewatch the other seasons year after year after year, and I've had less time to do that, being that season 9 was the last season. But, yeah, I don't remember if Ted or Barney says that, but it'd be good to go back and look and see if every single one of the main characters, including Tracy, ends up saying it.
Yeah. And so we're coming towards the end of the episode, and this is where it starts to get really heavy and emotional. And the first thing I want to talk about is, this conversation that Tracy has with Max on the porch after Luis asks her to marry him. It occurred to me that, she's saying to Max, would it be all right if I moved on? I imagine that the intent there was to lead the viewer to think that Max is going to say, yes, you can move on, and then Tracy would go back in the house and say, yes, Luis, I will marry you. But she says no. And that's because, the relationship with Luis really isn't going that well. They're not in love. But she was going to marry him anyway, because that just seemed like something you would do, right?
Yeah, it's the next step. Or at least get engaged. That's like, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards kind of mentality. Which, yeah, like that's something that she could do. It seems like what Luis is doing.
Yeah.
Because that's my note on this scene is that I'm curious why Luis is proposing at all. Because it's clearly not that they're not that into each other. Like, I'm sure that they have feelings that they appreciate each other. Maybe they even admire each other, but they don't get each other's jokes. It seems like there's no passion at all in the relationship. And I'm curious what is going on in his head from his perspective that the relationship is going so well that he wants to propose. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just that he's like, well, that's what you do. You date for a while, and then you get, and then you get engaged, and then you get married, regardless of how you feel about the relationship. And Tracy, after her conversation with Max, is freeing herself. She's taking herself off the hook. She's climbing out of the pit. Whatever other things we've seen in this show that we've seen the other characters go through, she does, and she decides that she's not going to keep punishing herself, and she's going to believe that love exists, and it's not with Luis.
Yeah, she's ready to believe again, and if anything, Luis doesn't believe in love in the same way that Tracy does, and if that conversation with Max had gone differently, if that ocean breeze hadn't come, then maybe she would have married Luis and given up on love, and we wouldn't have had the show.
Yeah, it could be. The fact that something actually happens, there's a response, whether it was Max or whether it was the universe, there's no way of knowing. But something happened. Well, coincidence. Could have just been a time when a breeze happened.
Right.
But this show doesn't really... that's not what happened.
Yeah.
Not in this show.
It's a little metaphysical.
It was something. But yeah, if that hadn't happened, maybe she would have done something different, but she gets an actual response back, and I think that was pretty necessary for her development.
Yeah. And we even get a little cameo from Curtis, the hotel clerk, who was a real jerk to Ted in this season.
He has been. He's been concerned that Ted is super depressed, even though he's not acting like it. He's worried about Ted committing suicide by jumping off of the lighthouse.
Yeah.
But not so much for Ted or his life or his safety, but because he'd have to clean it up.
Right.
And he doesn't want to do that.
It'd be bad for the hotel. Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Another suicide.
And maybe another ghost.
Yes.
Since the first ghost seems like he's completely made up.
Yeah.
But he's nice to Tracy, and he finally gets his way. He gets to, well, at least push somebody in Ted's direction.
Yeah.
He's very concerned about Ted not being single.
Right.
So he gets his way and puts Tracy next to Ted's room.
And that's where we get this lovely musical moment. Not only Tracy's rendition of La Vie en Rose, but this instrumental song that I mentioned earlier that was used in Time Travelers. It's called You're All Alone. Pretty depressing title, right?
Yeah.
The artist is John Swihart. But if you check that song out on YouTube, it's an all-instrumental song, but it's just beautiful. And that starts right away as she's opening the guitar case, and that's where we see the ukulele for the second time. And she carries it out to the balcony, and I heard on the DVD commentary that performance we saw on screen was their first take, and that they didn't do a rehearsal, so that everyone's reaction was supposed to be natural. And that's just... And even talking about that moment just gets me flustered because it's such a tearjerker.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that I didn't know. The song "You're All Alone" by John Swihart.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check that out because I didn't know that, and if it's the song that I think it is, I thought that was just a How I Met Your Mother original.
Right. It has a very similar feel to the the harp music that they used a lot in season 1.
But I'm pretty sure I know which song you're talking about. It's the super depressing song that plays in this season. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. And then I also didn't know about the one take thing with the ukulele. You're talking about the reactions. You mean like when we pan over all the different characters? Like Marshall, who they put him in makeup that looks like he's been crying more than he ever has in his entire life?
No, because I think that we that's a little bit separately. Like I mean, like they cast the crew, Radner, obviously, because he's the only one really sharing that scene.
Yeah.
Sharing in air quotes.
Yeah, sitting there listening.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap.
But as far as what you're talking about, that is a nice little moment where they remind you that there is this whole other show that you're supposed to be worrying about. That there's Marshall sitting up in bed, Lily in the back of what turns out to be the captain's car. That they're separated. Robin's lying awake in bed, and Barney's blackout. Jabba, Truth Serum drunk. And he's even clutching the bottle, like he's getting the last couple drops out of the bottle before he goes to bed with it. And it sort of reminds you that shit has gone down for the group in this evening.
Yeah, because we really needed a moment to see what Tracy's been up to for 8 years, and this is the episode, and we get it. We get as much as we're going to get. But yeah, don't forget what just happened in the last episode. Unpause. Things are kind of unraveling for the rest of the characters. Now they get their stuff together before the wedding, and the wedding does actually go off, and Marshall and Lily get their issues resolved, as of course they were going to, and Barney and Robin do end up getting married, and that's all great for that day. But there's a whole bunch of conflict that they didn't want you to forget about before we go into the next episode, the one where Robin's a balloon.
Yes, and just to tie in Tracy as part of the gang one more time, it's like she breaks up with Luis on the same night that all these other tragic or stressful events are happening to the rest of the crew. So it's going to be a memorable evening for the entire crew.
Yeah, because she does join the group in a few weeks after the wedding. So that's the end of that scene.
And that's pretty much the end of the episode, but we have this little teaser at the end, again, to remind you that there's another show that's going to be happening next week. We have Ted. He just comes in from the balcony and he says, like, I just heard this most beautiful song, and he's talking to an empty room as we reveal that Barney has left his bottle behind and has disappeared.
Yep, he's gone missing. Spoiler, he goes out to meet new people to write a playbook for them.
Yeah.
So that they can have a playbook, so that his hard work, his life's work can go on and be done by somebody else, which is kind of nice. It's nice that he's trying to let that part of his life go so that he can make his marriage with Robin work. He can't keep doing plays if he's going to be married to her. That's not the kind of relationship that they have. And so he's trying to give his knowledge, his wealth of knowledge, to the next generation.
Yeah.
And he does that at a strip club.
There's always a strip club.
And just materializes out of thin air. Who knows how much of that actually happened.
Yeah.
That's what Barney's up to. That's why he ran away.
And so, just to sum up, like, this episode is a fun episode because we get to see what Tracy was up to, and we get to do these fun little intersections with the series, and it's sort of a celebration of the series as a whole as well. It's like, hey, remember that fun episode? Remember that fun episode? Remember when this happened? What if Tracy was there, but just barely missed Ted,
Yeah, I like that. In the one episode that we were doing a beta for, Zoo or False, sort of did the same thing in a way that really wasn't that fun.
Right.
This one is just a celebration of the show. Everything about it is fun, and the audience gets to be like, yes, I remember that episode, and they do that over and over in this one, and it's like a reward for sticking with the show for this long, for being a fan.
Fan service.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the episode felt like to me. And it was it was really good, and the only thing that I could say is that I wanted more.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough. Not that they didn't do enough, but that I still wanted more.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to see more of Tracy because there's still so much that we don't know about her. I mean, there are a couple deleted scenes on the DVD. There's one where Tracy sees Robin land the helicopter in that episode, and that's her motivation to call Luis.
The life is short.
Yeah. Like, if she can, overdo that, land a helicopter, then I can be vulnerable enough to let Luis buy me a drink.
Mm. Yeah, and you're right that we don't know that much about Tracy, and I wish we could learn more. We were talking earlier off camera about when Tracy goes back to school. Is she going back for her undergrad? Did she go to college the first time? Is she going back to get her master's? We have no idea.
Right.
No clue. Just a whole bunch of unanswered things about her life. And, spoiler alert, you don't find out a whole lot about it either in the series finale.
No, because she's dead.
Oh my god. I wasn't going to do it, but...
She got struck by lightning.
If one of
16 times in a row.
Who does that happen to?
It's just God being cruel.
Well, good thing Ted still has Robin. Well, I'm glad you spoiled it, because I wasn't going to do it. If it had been one of us, I'm glad it was you.
Yeah. I'm lying. She got hit by a car.
Right, it was a car. Turns out it was a car.
Yeah.
The mugging gone wrong.
The same car.
The same car that got Max.
Yes.
Comes back for her. Actually, that would be fun if it was a car that, it comes back for her, but she defeats it.
Oh, yes.
And avenges Max's death.
Hulk style?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Hulk style. Maybe Luis helps?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, she doesn't need help. She's the heroine.
Yeah.
She defeats it with her saint powers.
Yes.
Powers of being a good person.
She hugs it to... she doesn't hug it to death. She hugs it till it becomes passive.
Yeah, it becomes reformed.
It becomes a good car.
So that was weird, but I liked it. I liked all of that. Not really sure where that came from, but it was fun.
So, do you have a life lesson?
Oh, I don't. Let me see if I can pull one out here. Bad things will happen in life. Don't punish yourself for it. Don't limit your options. Don't keep yourself from being outgoing and doing things and trying things just because a tragedy's happened in your life. You're just punishing yourself for no reason. You can't change the past, but you can do things in the present.
Yeah.
And because she dies in the finale, we also know that you're not guaranteed a tomorrow. So you should probably do as much stuff as you can today.
Yes, yeah. So appreciate the moment. If you've experienced loss, I'm sure everyone has, don't let that loss ruin your entire life. Move on. Don't let that
control
drag you
you.
down. Yeah.
Let it go. Like a Robin balloon.
So that's how we feel about this episode. How do you feel about this episode? Did we miss anything? What do you think about my crazy theories? Did we get anything wrong? Let us know by emailing us at HIMYMSuperfans@gmail.com.
And if you like the show, the best way to help us out is to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. You don't have to write a review.
Yeah, just tell us what you find most touching about this episode or in the series in general.
And give us that 5 stars. It really helps us with getting discovered and helps us grow our audience so we can keep making this show.
And if you want a little bit more, go ahead and find us on Facebook. We'll post some stuff on our HIMYM Superfans group page. We'll have some updates, some pictures, different types of fish, stuff like that.
Different types of fish.
That's it for this week, folks. You've been listening to How I Met Your Mother Superfans.
And James and I get so much out of discussing the episode. We really enjoy doing this, and we hope you enjoy it too.
We'll see you next week. But until then, in a way, aren't we all naked?
Yeah. Your balls are on my couch.